All right, Joel, why don't you step up? We're going to move to our next item, the facility update, life safety capital projects. Did you fall asleep? Did Joel fall asleep?
Joel and I don't have much tonight, but I didn't know how long that discussion would go, or if it led into capital, so I asked Joel to stick around to be able to answer some questions. Joel did confirm that the safety reference plans are a requirement, statute. They are required when you do the life safety. White confirmed to me that based on all the work they did in 08 and 09, that they know we are not up to speed with these and that we will need to do these, which is why they offered, if we did it now instead of waiting until 2015, they would cut that cost in about half, about $16,000. Joel and I did have a conference call with Ed Farron, and I did talk to White about them being on site doing the renovations in 2008 and doing the construction project, doing the 2005 life safety, doing the 2008 facilities report on the athletic complex. So I was able to get them down to about 34. It's about a 10% decrease in their price because they felt that a lot of the CAD drawings and stuff they did have on file, so it would require some less time. The 3-day survey is the people walking through the building. That can't be reduced in man hours or time. So they said as long as we were able to pull that off during school hours or find time during the day where they wouldn't have to have people stay and come after hours and pay overtime, they would be able to reduce that by about 10%. But overall, it's still about $50,000 roughly for that life safety survey and those life safety reference plans, which are both requirements by the state. So, it's one of those things. Do we do that now? Do we not do that now and wait till 2015? But we got to know that we're going to need to do safety reference plans and a life safety survey.
Well, you sent us that report and it listed things that we were out of compliance, and we're still just a little uncertain with the annual thing. But the fact of the matter is, now White's saying we are out of compliance.
They're out of
if we're spending this limited amount of money to find out where we're at and what the condition is, I don't see why we want to wait. I don't see an advantage of waiting.
I think that's why I'm bringing it forward.
Okay. I'm just telling you
But
what my opinion
the board's
is.
got to make that decision.
Yeah, but there's, Tim, I think you went through that stadium thing, didn't you?
And I read the report he sent us
Yeah.
too.
There were two things in that. Right? One thing I think was missing was the whole thing about the stadium. That would be on top of this, right, to figure out what we want to do with that?
No, that would be, well,
That's...
the stadium life safety was not, the stadium, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, and the stadium and the things that, with the locker room underneath the stadium and the tennis courts and the visitor bleachers and the bleachers in the gym, some of those things were addressed in the 2005 life safety, but it has like a grade C. Some of the compliance laws and things have changed. So in 8, we already were identified that we were out of compliance, but we were grandfathered in for an existing structure. And our next life safety, we will not be able to grandfather a lot of those things in.
Right, and when we do the annual bleacher inspection too, that brings that new code in, that new compliance code. It applies to the more recent, bleacher inspections that we did.
The next inspection.
But I guess I
Yeah.
didn't see the 2005 thing. I saw the 2008, and they said that
It's attached.
the whole, should we get rid of the stadium or rebuild it or get a new one? It implied that's a separate issue, that it wasn't covered in their analysis in 2008. My question is this $50,000 going to include that?
No.
No.
So what I would-
then we need to think about that.
Yeah, so here's what I would think about to the board. It's 10 o'clock, this is just off the cuff, more discussion. If you were to do the life safety now, and we would want to identify the concerns and the capital needs, then we'd have to look at the funding sources, and then we would try to get those callable, or do those bonds by 2013. Let's use the life safety as a separate project. Once we identify we have those needs, the amendments are in, all those things, then I would recommend to the board that we have a life safety committee or construction committee with the public involved. And then I would recommend, once we figure out financing options, the second thing we would do is then figure out, do you rebid the architect? We got to go through that whole big, long process. So really what we got to identify right now is, do we want to make this a priority? Do we want to get the survey done and the financing done? Then we have a little bit of window of time to catch our breath and do it the right way so we can lay it out and look at our bigger needs, a long-term plan. So that's not, let's just rush and get these immediate safety concerns addressed, and then in 2 years or 3 years from now, we're going to realize we have more parking issues or we have roof issues. So that's why I'm saying, like, it puts us under a little bit of a time crunch with the 2013 for the bond issues. But that's like only one step in the process, getting the life safety survey done, identifying that we have significant life safety needs and an amount that we would need to finance. The second priority then would be for the board is to figure out life safety bonds, working cash bonds, how do we want, or wait, you know, and then the third option would be how do we want to plan out this whole project? That would become a long-term project.
Priorities and then funding.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
but I think on this life safety and also the studies that we're gonna need to have to support it, even though we're under a time crunch, my opinion is that we need to look at, put an RFP out. White's done all this stuff, it's nice, but we need to be able, we've had some issues with them on the other construction, on the construction project we had now, just to put out there and give them some credibility and see what else people can offer out there. You know what I mean? And how long would it take to put an RFP together to put it on?
Well, my only concern with that, I'm not totally opposed to that because I understand this board has had some concerns with them. The one thing that is to our advantage is that they probably had identified some life safety concerns when they were crawling through walls and doing things in 2008, 2009, that they should have some record for. And that it should be able to expedite that process. I would think that when you get down to the fact of wanting to actually do a project, we would do the RFP. What I'm being concerned about is it's already going to be November 13th is our next meeting. If we vote to do a life safety, you put it out there for 30 days, or you do certain timelines and draft an RFP, post it, and you tie into the winter holidays. You know, are we going to start pushing the limit and forcing our hand on financing options and not giving us enough time to think about how we want to do that and how that can impact the taxpayers?
I'd suggest something else too. We discussed earlier why we want to extend Quest for years because people like them. I know in the overall construction project, we've had some problems and maybe still do at White, but I don't think we've ever had a complaint they have done a life safety study improperly. So if we're looking at supporting Kevin like we did in other things because he thinks it's the best thing to do, it's a small expenditure for something that really is pretty structured, right, Joel? I mean, they've done a lot of them. There's rules you follow when you're doing
Yeah.
life safety.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They've done the report before. They have a lot of knowledge. Doesn't mean we would hire them to do what John asked after the fact, design, look and see what we need to do and design it. That's the time, in my mind, to go out for bids on architect and just let them do something that as far as we can tell, they've done correctly before.
And in my experience, there's a lot of precedent too for the ones that did the renovations and that, and that have experience to continue to do the life safety too.
Well, that's a good point, but I'm still a little unsure, where's the fire, you know, with this interest rate stuff? I mean, it's like, we got to do it now. I still don't understand, why do we have to do it now? Just because a person's tax rate might go down and then it's going to go up? I mean, if that's the only impetus for this, I don't see it as, you know, necessarily a reason just to jump into this. Why do we have to do it now?
I think based on what Liz said, is in my interpretation of it is, if you didn't do anything now, yes, your rate would go down, but we're telling you in 2015, we're going to have to do it. So do we save the $100 on the taxpayers at 48 and the 55, and then in 2015, rate take the chance? I'm trying to think
So there is a
holistically,
risk.
big picture. If you did the life safety now, and it kept their tax payments where it was at, it didn't decrease it, but it kept it where it's at, and then in 2015, we refund those other bonds, pending interest rate, and we start showing them a decrease in their tax bill then. We've addressed the facility issue, we're saving them some money.
I'd say it a little bit different too, if you don't mind, Kevin. What we're doing is kind of talking about spending whatever the number you're going to come up with, 16 or 18,000, to find out whether we're in a situation where we should be doing things right now. We're not spending millions of dollars to actually do it. We're saying, let's move this, based on the reports we have and what Joel and Kevin are telling us, there could be problems. Let's find out, based on a structured analysis, what the problems are, and maybe John will get lucky and they'll say, you know what, we can wait 2 or 3 years to do this. Or maybe they're going to say, you know what, we have a report from '08 those things are still a problem, and they've just gotten worse. And you know what? You really shouldn't wait. That's what we're making a decision on. We're not making a decision on spending millions of dollars or hiring architects for that plan or doing anything. We're making a decision on looking at reports now that are 8 and 6 years old that said you got problems, and the annual reports that says you're out of compliance, and tell me where we're at before something falls apart.
Correct.
Yeah, we reap a savings by having White. If we wait 2 years, we can't reap that savings. They won't have the CAD drawings. White did a lot of wonderful things for the renovation, and they are one of the leading architects in schools.
What architect out of it, Tim Joel brushed me up on this, that when they do the life safety, the group A, the immediate concerns or dangers or life safety infractions, what's the time period that they have to?
1 year.
They're usually
So
1 year and
if
then
they come out and
2
say your stadium bleachers have to be replaced, it's a category, a priority A, that has to be done within a year.
And what my concern is, I don't think we should wait 2 more years to find out if we did it right now, we have an A.
Well, we know in 08 that we already were grandfathered in and being out of compliance.
Right.
So we already know that we're 5 years in that point.
I mean,
So is
It's
it
getting-
guaranteed A if they come and look at it?
I mean, if they were telling us in 08 that we were out of compliance, but we were grandfathered in, now once they write the formal life safety report.
Well, wait, I just read that report.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim, you made this point too. It's like the thing isn't in danger of falling down and killing anybody.
but the report's 6 years old.
Yeah, but still, that stadium's been there for 60 years, you know? I
The-
mean,
Plus, we spend money every year maintaining it, don't we?
Yes.
I mean, do you think we spend $16,000 a year maintaining it?
Yeah,
We
and
do a
it's
lot of
not,
patching, we do a lot of.
I mean, some of those issues in that 2008 report were addressed. I mean,
Right.
it's been fixed. A lot of it's been fixed, so.
yeah, but some of it's closed off. We're not even
That-
using it as
That's
we
more how it
can.
was fixed, we closed off.
Right.
Right, it was closed.
So
off.
that's not fixed. It's dangerous. There are sections that you can't go in because they're no longer safe.
Well, let's put it this way, Jen. If John was using that locker room in there, would you want him in there?
Well, they still use it now.
I know, but would you want your son there?
Look, Matt, that's not the question here. I mean,
I know my daughter, I wouldn't
My
want
son
her in the
uses
locker
it.
room. What?
St. Mary's uses it, they're in there.
Yeah.
We could hold up,
That's not,
I have a problem with this, is like, we're just rushing into this thing based on, we have this window of opportunity to do this life safety thing. and
No, no,
actually-
no, no, no. I think the key thing
Yeah.
right now is get the life safety survey done.
Right.
And that find out directionally where you need to go.
so the question I have to ask is, because Wright did the construction in 2008, we are getting a major savings on this life study?
about 5,000.
Is that
Which is
major?
about 25% or something.
Oh, it was 35,000, it was 39,000 on the life safety and 16,000 for safety reference plans if we did it right now and we did the life safety. Otherwise, it's 28,000. So then I went back to him and said, listen, there's got to be some reduction in man hours because you just did this renovation project, so they went back and looked at how many of their CAD drawings, things they had filed, and they took 10% off of the 39. So it's roughly they got it to about 35,000 for the life safety survey, 16 for the safety reference plans, which we have to be done. So if we waited 2 years, it would be assumably 40,000 plus the 28, so it would be 68,000. So now we're getting it for about 51,000. So
Yeah,
it's about
but that's
17,000.
based on White, and the thing is, when this thing was built in 2008, I mean, all those life safety things should have been addressed, for the most part. I agree that stadium's a disaster out there, but this school is basically brand new, so why are we paying this full freight? I think it should be like half off. I mean, I'm just guessing, but it should be more than that.
Well, my concern would be, though, I do agree with you on that, and that's why I went to him. But the problem is if we put an RFP out and you get a different architect, they're not going to know all the intricacies of what White identified in 08 or 09. So now they're going to want to pay the full expense because they're going to want to go through every nook and cranny. So I don't see how.
I don't
we
know,
would
Tim,
get it.
you're sort of like an RFP guy, right? So what do you think of this?
I think that,
I mean, do we trust White?
I,
Is their price is fair?
I
Do they have independence?
I trust him as much as I trust Quest, and he negotiated a better deal from White than we did with Quest. So, I mean, we're making the same type of decision, and we're saying, we love this guy, and my thing is, there's statutory and rule requirements of doing a life safety, and these guys are architects and engineers who put their stamp on it, and they're risk on the line. It's not like some of the issues you had, whether they should cover a warranty 5 years later. It's, you get a report, you do it right, and you have liability for doing it. And I don't think somebody's going to put their reputation on the line in a study like this for a school and taking a risk they're over or underselling it. So, and the one thing I would say different than you, John, is, yeah, I don't think we should rush just to rush, but if we think there are issues and we need to address them, the fact that interest rates are low should be weighed into the decision of why we should find out the information, at least now, so that if we need to do it, we can do it and save more money maybe, as Liz, we don't know the rates, but what they might be 2 years from now.
You make a good point.
All right, so directionally, what do we want to do? Do we want to do the RFP, or do we want to have White do it? So, we're not taking a vote, with just the general consensus.
Well, I think White should do it.
Me too.
I think White should.
What?
Let's go, Mike.
Is there any issue with them being in here and doing all this work and then going through and
Yeah.
looking at their own work?
I asked about a conflict of interest.
To see if it's up to par?
If you didn't have issues with White because of the concerns the board has issues with White on, normally you would be having this, your architect on record continuously do this survey every 10 years.
Sure.
Okay.
They know they're under scrutiny.
Yes.
So they've done it in '05 and '08, and it's going to be a low-cost item?
That also can be wrapped into the cost of the
If we have
project.
to do that.
If we have to do
And
it.
if we don't, we don't have to do this.
I'm not saying to the board, use White for the project.
Right.
We don't know what the
We
cost
just-
was in '05 and '08, do we?
I don't know what the cost was.
We're going to have to do this in 2 years, so we might as well take advantage of drawings that are out there. And
Oh, yeah, the
Well,
point is if we're getting a fair price from White. because
I
it's
told you,
not-
I did follow up with another architect. They said it's between 7 and 10 cents a square foot. We have roughly 440,000 square feet. So they were a little closer to like 9.5 cents, where the person, they could have been at 7 or 7 point. So to getting them to come down to 4,000 or 5,000, I did. I mean, we're at a point where it's going to be pretty close to market standard.
Well, actually, you told me a little different, where we didn't have a quest. You said that it's a fair price or something like that. You have competitors said maybe.
So you say, even though they have drawings, they're just coming
Why do
in?
you keep bringing, Quest is a separate issue, I think you could let.
So you're saying
I'm
that-
saying,
so
when I
it's the
did
same
that, I
concept.
just called a friend and said, hey, is this out of range, not out of range?
And he said it
They said it
was-
was fair price.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it was,
So they have drawings and they're coming down to the market rate.
no,
no, they have drawings, so they're giving us a 10% reduction.
And now the rate is,
From the market rate.
and so
They
now,
feel that 39,000 that they originally quoted us is market rate.
what's that come out per square foot?
9.5 cents, something like that,
And what is market rate?
7 to 10 cents.
So it's, they dropped it with to the market rate, with
The low
drawings.
end of the market rate.
And let me go back to Quest. If we took 1% more on Quest, it's $5,000. So we would have gotten more by pushing them than we're getting, I mean, it's the same.
All
kind
right,
of
so
concept.
let's look at the consensus, what's going on.
The
Mike?
big savings is on the safety reference plan in 2 years. If we waited and did it with White in 2 years, they're saying the market rate for that is 28,000. They're giving us that for 16,000 now.
So consensus wise?
I think we need to
said
do
White.
it.
You
I-
said White? What,
Yes.
Mike?
I'll pass. Gary?
Gary?
I'm not ready to vote on it.
I know, but consensus wise, do you want an RFP or do you want White?
I'm kind of concerned that they're coming down to market rate even though they have the knowledge of this building, so I.
No, they're not coming down to market rate.
He's just giving his opinion.
All right, Tim?
They're
I
going
say,
lower.
let's get it going. Use
Dan?
White and go.
Yeah, I had concern about conflicts of interest since they did architecture, but that's obeyed. I'm okay with White.
John?
I'd refer to pass, but I'm inclined to go with them with the understanding is it's just, we have to gather the information, and there's no way we're obliged to use them for anything else.
Okay.
So you're still passing or not?
I'll agree with John.
Okay. All right, let's get White back. I want you to see if we can negotiate any more on this.
So I have,
An extra $5,000 you would have saved at Quest.
The 8% would have
Take the
been,
savings from Quest, get it from Quest.
we wanted 8%.
We want
Savings
Quest to
from
put down
West
the.
and
All right, are we done with Joel then?
yeah,
Joel,
Joel,
thank you
you
very
have
much.
fun today?
Thanks, Joel.
Learned a lot.
thanks Liz, thanks Joel.
And then,
Thanks, Liz.
here, Joel, one thing we need to do is, once we get this, we need to have, present the board a timeline of when the reports will be due, so that, so that they're gonna present us with a timeline of when we're gonna get reports and everything like that, then we as a board then can decide. I'd like to have those timelines shared with you, so then you can say, is the board agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I would just wait till we
Till we
first
get
get,
it.
I'll bring on the 13th a formal board action to approve a life safety survey conducted by White. If the board approves it, the next thing would be try to get them on the calendar so that it gets completed before the first of the year.
Okay.
So that we
Okay.
have plenty, we have January and February to look at financing options and what they,
Okay.
and whether or not we need
Thanks,
to
Joel.
rush.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it. Good job, Joel.
Bye,
Even
Joe.
though you stayed late, thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.